Good afternoon. This is John at the Home Caregiving Channel. We're going to have a hard subject on this one. I'm going to teach you how to get through a investigation from Adult Protection Service because your loved one has no one to get mad at other than you. So expect that. So I didn't say if you get into an investigation. I said when you get into an investigation. I say that because that grinding effect I keep telling you about, where you'll grind daily and you lose your energy, you lose your patience, you lose everything but the will to take care of your loved one. And that puts you in a dangerous spot. Because when you get mad, you're getting mad at your loved one. And all that loved one has to do is say to a visiting nurse, my caregiver is mean to me. And that's all it takes to get Adult Protection Service knocking at your door. Now, this investigation is so problematic that you could easily end up in prison, and I don't want you to do that. I'm not telling you how to beat an investigation. I'm going to just tell you how to get through it. These people, these officers, they're of a state agency. I worked for a state agent as well. And, it is what it is. It's their jobs, just like it was my job in my agency with the state. So you got to realize, number one, they are people too. They're just people doing a job, a service, because there is just some mean people out there that needs to be behind bars. But what I don't like about an investigation like that is they don't go on evidence. There's no evidence that they will look at. What they look at is a preponderance of evidence. That means they're going to look around and it looks like you're abusing, then they will charge you. And when they charge you, they'll bring a cop to your door or where you work at and arrest you immediately. And you'll go before a judge and they will tell their side of the preponderance of evidence, not evidence. And the judge will probably cart you behind off to prison. I don't want that for you. I went through 6 or 7 of these investigations. They were hard. I went through them because my wife was narcissistic. She just liked to see me in trouble. She was like it. I truly do miss her, though. I wish she was still in my life. But 10 years ago, it was the last of it, the separation of man and wife. But when these investigations come to you, I came home one day after work. I walked in the door. There was an APS investigator sitting down with my wife. And she said, sir, you need to go back outside. So I went back outside. It was a beautiful day. The birds were singing. The sun was shining. It was warm, cool. The wind had a little cool mist to it. I sat out there in my lawn chair and just 20, 30 minutes. And then she called me back in and I said, I want to thank you. And she said, for what? I said, I want to thank you for that blessed break you just gave me. That's right. So, when these investigators come, they're going to shoo you out of the house where you can't hear a thing they say. And they're going to bring you in and they're going to ask you questions. And the thing I would say is yes, no, yes, no, yes, Yes, that's all I said. Don't feed into their investigation. Don't be a dummy and say, well, yeah, I did that because I got mad. That just feeds right into their preponderance. Don't do that. Let your yes be yes and your no's be no's. Because what are they saying about that against you now? Just realize these people have jobs and it's a tough job for them. And they are people just like we are, and we have a tough job too, taking care of our loved one. But God, out of 70 million homes, I predict 20% to go to prison, to fall into prison. That's 218,000 people. The prisons are over full now. The baby boomers are in our midst now. People are starting to take care of them. For the next 10 years, it's going to be, you're going to see more home care business prop up and up and up, because that's where the money is today. I hope to make some money, but guess what? I'm going to funnel it right back to the people through a giveaway program. And I will bless you. These investigations are very dangerous. Every time I went into investigation, I sat down with my warden and told him I'm under a state investigation. Had they put me into jail, I'd probably went to prison. My son came down to help us, and he was allowed to stay in the home while they was investigating on the last one. And he tells me that just say it, just say the word, just give me a yes, and you and your son will be down in another town. Just say the word. They tried her to get say the word, and she wouldn't do it because she knew she was 24-hour care. We gave her 24-hour care, but she knew if she got put into a home, there would be no 24-hour care. She'd be lucky to have 2 or 3 hours out of 24-hour day care. And what a miserable life would that have been for her. So it came close in my house. I went down with a book to give APS, a book that will help every one of you in APS. And that investigator looked at me like she wanted to kill me. They can charge all they want to, but if they don't follow through, there's nothing they can do, even on preponderance of evidence. So again, I warn you, this is a warning. When, not if, an investigation comes up, do not feed into that investigation because it'll be to your detrimental. I said on another video, I went to renew my license on the car. There was an old man in there. We started talking. I started talking about APS. And he said they went to my son's job, arrested him, threw him in prison, and he's not back yet. We get a lot of time. You get a lot of time for abuse of an elderly. And you may not live through it in prison. They don't like that on children or the elderly. So when you get into an investigation, let your yes be yes and your no's be no's. Period. Do not feed into that investigation because it's really guesswork on their side on preponderance. Look preponderance of evidence up. It's out there. That term is out there. I wish I'd have looked it up and give it to you now, but it's out there. And it's dangerous. So when you lose your crap, when you blow your top in home caregiving, get your butt outside and yell all you want to yell. Get it out of you. Do not do it in front of your loved one. Go outside and do what you got to do. Stay away from alcohol. Stay away from drugs. None of that stuff is no good for a caregiver, because once you're done, you're an alcoholic or an addict. Because it took a minimum of 7 years for me to get through my caregiving experience. 7 years was a long time of every day getting up before the crack of dawn, 3 a.m. I started at 3 a.m. I left the house at 4:30. I'd cared for her from 3 a.m. to 4:30. I paid a person come into my home at 10 to 2, and at 3 I came back home. And it got to a point where no one would come in to my home because she was just too much work. Total care, 100% care. And that's where the rubber meets the road. That's when your loved one will strike out to you. I've got a way, and I hope you look for this in these videos, how to communicate to someone who no longer can speak, no longer have hands, no longer can sit. I can communicate it to my wife to her last breath. I hope you look that up. I hope you do. Because you don't know the pressure I had to stand at that easel board and write her words, turning me in to a nurse that I was abusive. Man, you don't know what that was like. How. And I told my wife that really hurt and it could really put me in jail. But God bless her, she never put me in jail. She took it to the doorstep. She took it to the doorstep, but God bless her, she didn't follow through. Because, man, all they got is you. All they have at the end of their life is you. The friend or the family member who's sacrificing to serve their loved one till death. Sacrificing, because it is a sacrifice. It's the purest love I've ever seen in marriage. That love was so strong from me to her. It was a love I've never experienced like before. But it was a beautiful, strong, pleasing God love that my greatest counsel at that time in my life, people telling me stuff. Hey, 36 years, you had a good spin. Put her in a nursing home and go on with your life. I couldn't do that. As a man, I couldn't do that. So I stood my ground and did what I could at my best. And I hope and pray you do the same. My 15 minutes are up. I got to go. Goodbye and take care.